Hello and welcome to today's Power Hour with Dare to Scale. My name
good
is
morning.
Varsha.
And I'm Evan.
And this is Evan. So wonderful to have you back with us, joining us every time we do this, because every time we start a brand new conversation, because that's what, first of all, Dare to Scale is all about, is encouraging those conversations, and particularly where entrepreneurs, founders of small businesses come in, join us, and mainly get that inspiration, get that courage, get the frameworks for scaling your business. And that's what Dare to Scale is all about. We also run a brilliant podcast where we bring great entrepreneurial stories, especially our last episode has been one of the biggest hits so far. So if you haven't subscribed to it yet, go subscribe. It is called the Dare to Scale Show. And after all, what you can see behind me is our book. So this is where I think the Power Hour started, when we launched our own book in May earlier this year. And we thought, wow, this is a great avenue, because we launched it as a LinkedIn Live. And we thought, well, we're going to continue this and keep those conversations alive. And that's what the Power Hour has been so far. It is where we open up topics for conversations. It's not so much a coaching conversation. It really is digging deeper into particular topics that we hear a lot about in different channels over the internet. And we just go quite deep into it. And then we'll leave you with some takeaways, some immediate action points. And overall, it turns out to be a wonderfully enriching conversation. So thank you very much for continuing to join us. This is the Power Hour with Dare to Scale. And
yes, it is. And,
yes.
you know, the theme of generally Dare to Scale is obviously about business.
Yeah.
But the theme that we're running for the next couple of months is actually Dare to Scale you. And it's all about the person behind the business. Yeah. Because, I mean, like Washers often want to say is, you know, put your own oxygen mask on first. That's what they tell you on aircraft in the safety briefings. Look after yourself first so you can actually help other people. If you're no good, you're no good to anybody. And really, that's sort of where we're going. And it's Dare to Scale you. I mean, oftentimes it's actually quite interesting how we can get stuck in the weeds, in the details of the business, and sometimes forget about ourselves. So we're just taking a breath, stopping, looking up and looking out, and, you know, putting the attention back onto, or at least the focus back onto the entrepreneur.
That is true. Yeah.
Yeah. So while we're talking about the human behind the business, like Wesha said, we launched our book on our own LinkedIn Live, and we're actually doing the same today. Well, not so much launching, but we're actually meeting an author today, and it's actually an absolute pleasure to introduce Florence Reisch-Gentinetta. She's originally from Switzerland, and her book that actually published last Friday on the 8th of October is Expat Wife Happy Life, The Journey of a Serial Expat. It's available all over the shop. The website with all the details of where the book is available will be obviously published. Now, Florence is originally from Switzerland. She studied and is a professional in PR and communications. She's now, with all of those skills and all of her journey that she's had, she's now a life coach. She's obviously a new author, and she's a serial expat, as the book would suggest. 25 years of going around the globe in 6 different countries. Absolute pleasure to welcome Florence.
It does. It takes some doing, isn't it, to go through a journey like that. And particularly when we bring in Florence. Florence is waiting in the wings, as you say, to join in the show. And before that, what I want to touch upon is some of the topics that we're going to cover today. And these are all from the book. Florence very kindly sent us a wonderfully signed copy of the book so we can go through it. And when we were reading the book, do you know why we said, no, we're going to have to do a power hour for this? Because while the book is written, or the title of the book suggests Expat Wife, it really are lessons. The book contains lessons that we all go through as human beings. We all go through our life as it is, and we either build up certain qualities, certain attributes, or we already know they are and they just come up to the fore. And that's what helps us cope with whatever life brings us. So as the spotlight is going to be on you, the entrepreneur, the founder, whatever role you play in your life, as a child, a spouse, a partner, a friend, a sibling, whatever role you play in your life, these are some of those qualities about us as human beings that came out so strongly in the book, and they are wonderfully written. So we said, yeah, this is definitely a power hour style conversation. And some of the things that we're going to be covering today, so hold on till the end of the hour, because there's some great topics. To begin with, it is the importance of attitude, the attitude of gratitude. Very funny. Lost in translation. Did you really think lost in translation is, yes, it's wonderful to hear what stories, but what it's like when you're traveling the world and there are different cultures, different languages, different people, different everything. So a lot can get lost. We're going to go deeper into that one. Time to get out of your comfort zone. State of mind, adaptability, and of course, the word that is so dear to us, courage. Because to wrap all this up, it takes courage, it takes guts to do what Florence has been doing for 25 years, support her partner and support her family and travel, gain wonderful experiences, and come to us as not just a new author, but a brilliant life coach on her own right. So you can see in the comments, there are lots of all the links that are coming through. There's, of course, a link to Florence's book. Go check it out. But without much ado, here is Florence. Say hello. Florence, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Warsha. Thank you, Ivan. I'm so grateful to be with you, and thank you for having me this morning.
Oh,
Good morning, Florence.
Absolutely our pleasure. Completely our pleasure. So first of all, congratulations. Your book is out. It is so brilliant, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
How does it feel?
Well, I'm so happy, and I have so much support, and I really receive so much love from everyone, and it's an amazing journey.
It is. It is, rather. It is. So before we go into any of these topics, I have a question for you to start us off. There are comments already starting to come in. This is wonderful because we have such an engaged audience. So the comments will be here and we'll address them all. But before that, I want to talk about why did I choose this as today's title of today's show? One Life, Live It. When I was going through your book, and in the book, you've very nicely summarized most of these topics with some action points, some takeaways from your coach's perspective. And there are three towards the end of the book, and the one in the middle stood out for me. It is One Life, Live It. And live it to the fullest, like you have been with your wonderful, wonderful family. So is it limited to you as an expat, or is it limited to one as an entrepreneur, or it really is almost like a strong mantra that goes across all of us 8 billion people in the world? Because if you're not living that one life to the fullest, living in the present, giving it all you have, then give it another thought. Take a deep breath and say, you know what? What is success? Success is now, and we're living it. So, Florence, over to you. 25 years across the globe. And at what point did you think, well, I think I'm going to have to turn this into a book? And how did that happen? Tell us.
Well, actually, when the idea of the book came up, it's really because I think I always wanted, I would have loved to read a book like this one. While I was an expat myself, I would have loved to read that actually what I'm going through each time I'm coming in a new country and all the challenges that are in front of me, all expats are actually going through. And that's one of the main reasons I wanted to share my experiences. Of course, my experience is unique because It's what I lived, and actually what with my past and with my culture and with my stories. But the point is, as you were saying at the beginning, we all, as a human being, we all go through those challenges anyway.
That is true.
I mean, what I love in the book, even just getting on the expat sort of trail, and look, the whole story is in the book, so I'm not going to go into any of that. But at that point, I mean, you weren't even married, and you ended up taking on this path anyway, and it absolutely takes a lot of courage to do something, I mean, quite wild. As you say, you're from Switzerland, very conservative, I imagine, so it was like, oh my God, what am I doing? But absolutely amazing. And the fact that you've put all these thoughts into a book that will help is absolutely tremendous. And look, the world is getting smaller. We're more global these days. So it's incredible, just each of the different countries you've gone to, because you first went to Africa, then you went to the Far East, if I remember rightly, worked your way to South America and Mexico, and then finally you're now in Dubai. Yes, totally different. Every single one of those journeys, absolutely, cultures and language and all sorts, and
absolutely,
third world, first world, all that sort of stuff. It was very, very interesting.
Well, more third world.
So in that journey, one of the key things, and it resonates with everything we talk about in Dare to Scale, but one of the key things that we sort of zeroed in on and said, oh, you know what, this is interesting. It's not just an expat, but it's also the entrepreneur. It's us as just individuals, wherever we are. And that's your mindset. Tell us a little bit about the attitude that you went into this journey with, and how that changed over time.
Well, I think at the very beginning, obviously you have your ups and downs. At the beginning, of course, when I first arrived in Africa, as you said, I was not married. I didn't know what I was gonna expect, how my life will go on. So I just had two choices. Either I stay home and I depressed, or I go out there and I decide to do something with my life. So I think it's any challenges you have in front of you, you have your choice. It depends. I mean, you decide what you want to do with it. So from this moment, I just looked out there and I decided, okay, what can I do to make my days fully happy? What do I need to? And I remember at this moment, I really needed to talk a lot. The effective communication was super important with my partner at the time, not my husband, who now
say a quick hello to Alex.
Yes, hey Alex, you are as much part of the story as Florence. So hello. We hope you've joined us and watching.
Of course. No. I mean, the story would not be the same without his love and support. Yeah. That's for sure. And if you're there, Alex, thank you. Again, no, the important thing is, courage, attitude, the choice you're doing, keep positive. I would say really carpe diem. Just follow your instinct. Just really, you're the only one actually who knows really what you're able to do, you're capable to do. So trust yourself.
I like what you're saying here. Trust yourself, and I want to put out a question to all our listeners, all our viewers today. And we have viewers who have joined us on LinkedIn Live, as well as streaming live on YouTube. So welcome wherever you have joined us from. This is the Power Hour by Dare to Scale. So I like what Florence just said. Believe in yourself, and importantly, something that happened that she said a couple of minutes ago is, only you know, what you're capable of, and also only you know what you're going through in a particular situation. While everybody might say, oh, I can totally see what you are going through. Do they really? Because all our individual experiences are so unique to us. And it's only us who really know internally how to cope with it. We are resourceful enough as humans who believe in that. So I have a question for all our listeners today. How many of you have lived an expat life? Say a yes in the comment box right now, because we'd love to hear from you. Because every time you move to a different country, we go through certain challenges, don't we? We have all been there, especially people who have joined us from this part of the world will absolutely know what we're talking about. So type a yes if you have lived that expat life, and continue this conversation. So at which point did you feel, wow, this is not at all how I expected it to be, or it's taking longer for me to settle into something that I didn't think it would take so long? And did you go through that? Because I sure did 25 years ago, when I moved to this wonderful, wonderful country, which is now home. It was different. Everything was different. So I like what you're saying here, Florence. It is only you know what strengths that you have and what you can cope with. Lots of yeses coming over. So yeah, it's totally yes, and always lived through it, says Varuna. Totally. Yeah, Amanda says, yes, spend most of my life here in the UAE. Totally. So, Florence, while we're talking about that mindset and what it takes to cope with what new in our life, tell us a little bit about that attitude of gratitude. Why? It's a phrase that we commonly see on social media now, but what does it mean to you? And tell us something. Why did you choose to write about this?
Well, first of all, to come back to what you were saying before and trust yourself, I think it's something really important is that you will be even surprised yourself of what you're able to do. Yeah. So when you're asking me if I went through and how many times, I think every single expatriation, I had different experiences. Nothing happened the same time, the same way. All the challenges are always there, anywhere you go. But the more you move, the more you're used to them, or you just approach them differently. Also, there are countries where you know people, so obviously that's always easier to integrate. And there are other countries where you arrive and you have, actually, it's really a blank page and you have to start from the beginning. So it can be, I mean, when I first arrived in Africa, my luck was that actually they were speaking French in Benin. This is my mother tongue. So of course, that was already something easy for me.
Yeah.
But the culture and what I was going to do there and activities and everything, that was all new to me. So, and after that, when I arrived in Indonesia, which was my second posting, it was English, which already was not my language, and obviously Bahasa Indonesia. And to really mingle with the people and the culture, I had to learn this language. And of course, it was my curiosity. And then it's really when I realized how much I love this life. Because every morning I was really waking up and looking forward actually to go and to meet and to know more. And my curiosity was definitely my strength and what helped me to enjoy this life so much.
Oh, wow. Very nice. And as you were talking about this experience, you know what occurred to me? We have so far been talking about entrepreneurs because that's what we're talking about a lot. It's kind of a similar situation, even if you're changing jobs, isn't it? So
this I don't know.
No, I'm putting it out there to all the listeners, because how do you cope with when you move from one company to the other? And perhaps this is something that perhaps Alex was going through as well in his own way. And every single person who moves to a different company, moves to a different environment, moves to a different culture, what does it take to begin that integration? So how many of you out there who are listening have changed jobs and wondered, wow, this is all new? And how long did it take? So first of all, type in to say, yes, do you identify with this? Because I think at some point we all go through this. it's that similar situation that I want to draw that parallel with. And I love that about that attitude of gratitude. So Evan, you had a specific note about this particular point, especially with note taking.
With note taking,
well, there is one of the things that a lot of people out there do is put a diary,
journal.
have
I
a
think you're
have a
about the
journal.
journal.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. And the reason why I want to talk about that, Evan, go for it.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's not for everybody. I do it occasionally, the journal of gratitude, and it's not something I do absolutely all the time, but I love it when I actually do get to it, and that's not for everybody. And Florence, in your book, you actually say that's not something for you, but you picked up something different. Tell us a bit about that.
Was it my painting?
When you met Frank? Yeah, when you met Frank.
Actually, Henry.
Oh, sorry, Henry,
yeah,
sorry.
that's a beautiful story. I love this story, actually. So actually, when I first arrived in Africa, I didn't know what I was going to do. And what was available for me were some painting classes. Okay, I had a very bad grade at school at the end with my painting, but I thought, okay, never mind. That's where the women are, and let's go for it, and let's see what I can do. So I joined Henry's classes, and it was a really, really wonderful man who was actually a man who followed his wife because she was the expat and he was there as a partner. So you see, we have different situation always.
Yeah.
And I started to learn painting with him. And I loved it. And painting became really my therapy. So now I'm really using, as other people would use yoga or a journal, me when I need actually to relax and to empty my mind and do something else, I'm painting. And the funny thing is when I go through a transition between two different countries, and this is also, it's also a difficult time because actually, you're going to leave people very often. You cannot tell them that you're going to leave because it's often a secret for the organization. You cannot tell that you're going to leave. So during those times, painting is what really, really helped me to go through difficult times, and I paint. And so yeah.
Nice.
Fantastic.
Oh, how beautiful. Excuse me.
So I want to talk a little bit because you mentioned now about Indonesia, and then later on you went to Brazil where you had to learn Portuguese, and then Mexico where you had to learn Spanish. Oh my God, But there's a wonderful section in the book which we just loved, and that was Lost in Translation. And there's a wonderful story you share in there. Can you just share that with us?
Yeah, so that was really at the beginning of my expatriation. So it was in Africa. And I remember, so I'm an insatiable learner. I love to learn. And in Africa, I decided to go back to my studies. And I had to go back to England to take my exams. And at the time, I was also playing tennis in Africa. And I had to tell my partner that I won't be there for a few weeks. So just to say sorry, my tennis partner, I had to tell her, okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to be in England for a week. So I have exams. And then she looks at me and she said, wow, break a leg. And I was like, break a leg? So I was so surprised. And then I was a bit shocked. So I really understood the literally signification. And I went back home a bit surprised until I shared this story with Alex. And I told him, okay, imagine what she told me. And then he told me what actually it's a way in English to say good luck. So that was really my first loss in translation.
Well, do you know what that inspired? Morris actually went looking for stories, and this was actually on Facebook, and there's one absolutely hilarious one. I was born and bred in Zimbabwe, so when Washa was telling me this, I thought, oh my God, I know what you just said, and I bet you, so I knew what was actually said. This couple was in Namibia, And everywhere they went, they were told to buy a donkey, and they thought, why would you want to buy a donkey?
Well,
Okay,
particularly
fine.
when they did something for somebody.
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
It was almost like
But everywhere they went, they were being told to buy a donkey. And I was like, what? So eventually they actually thought about, well, maybe this is the thing to do. And they were almost about to actually buy a donkey. And then realized, or at least learned, that what people were saying was actually buy a donkey, which is in Afrikaans means thank you very much. So it was like, oh. So fortunately they didn't buy a donkey, So we giggled a lot about that one. I tell you what, it was quite funny.
Oh, this morning it was absolutely. I had tears streaming down my face to some of the lost in translation stories, and I want to put it out there. First of all, there are two questions I have for the viewers. First one is, if you. I want to take the conversation back to the journaling, or in your case, the painting. Is what do you do as a practice towards that gratitude, whether it is a journal or whatever it is that you do? So type it out and give us, just give us some ideas on what do you do when it's time to maybe a point of reflection. What do you do? So we'd love to hear that. And so continuing with the lost in translation, this is something that I also took away in this, is it doesn't even have to be a face-to-face conversation, different languages, different cultures, different people. There is so much that can be lost in translation in the tone in an email, in a message that you send somebody, maybe on the phone. And when I was going through all these number of stories on lost in translation, there was somebody who summarized it up so wonderfully for me, and I thought I'm going to share this today to say, in a conversation, if you find, even if everybody agrees with you, doesn't mean that you know what you're talking about. So for me, that was a big aha. Oh, wow, never thought of it like that. So
yeah, they could just be being kind. I mean, the one story you shared with me, look, I was so literally doubled up with laughter and just could not make sense of anything. I had trouble even understanding her, but this particular one, it's almost very naughty. But yeah, it was just like, just because people are agreeing with you doesn't necessarily mean you know what you're talking about.
No.
I had a very, very big lonely moment. Speaking of that, actually, I was talking with a friend, and she's a Dutch girl, and she was really telling me a dramatic story. And unfortunately, I couldn't understand exactly what she was saying, but I couldn't interrupt because I was saying it was complicated for her. And then at the end, I said, and she looked at me and she said, no, but do you really understand what I was saying? And I went, and then she said, no, you did not understand anything. And that was a big lonely moment as well. So, yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, well, that's, oh, yeah.
Especially when people are looking at you very expectantly, it's like,
yes. I know, waiting for you to finish.
What should I?
What just happened?
You better say, no, I don't understand. And actually, it's okay not to understand.
Totally.
That's the important thing. It's okay. You can
say it's okay. That's true. It's okay. And again, I take back to different scenarios in life. Is how many times do we just nod along and pretending that we kind of understood? And how many times do we use the word that Florence used quite a bit in the book, is how many times do we have the courage to actually say, you know what, I don't get it, and it's okay. So explain something to me, or actually put out there to say, maybe I need to learn something, or learn something different in a different way, to understand what's happening. Because when we were having a chat with Florence, something came up really strongly, that when Florence, you were in Indonesia, and it's to connect with the local population, people around you, it was language, wasn't it? That was the strongest thing, that you had to learn the language. That's brilliant.
Yes.
That is absolutely brilliant. And so how many languages did you learn in your journey across the world?
Oh, that I never count, but actually, yes, in Indonesia for sure, in Brazil, in Mexico, Spanish, in the Philippines, not so much, because actually now Filipinos are mainly speaking English.
Speaking English,
yeah, and here, well, you know, in Dubai, it's everybody speaks English as well. Even the locals, they really like to speak English.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
I'm going to the comments just to say, Emma says a journal most days, and she tries to come up with 3 new gratitudes every time, where she says, I love looking back over them on days where I need a little bit of a boost in motivation and higher vibes. Hey, that is a brilliant way to note down what is your win for the day, or your top 3 wins for the day. That is nice. Yeah.
I think it's also nice to see how much actually you evolve in your journey, and how much you did since you wrote this gratitude. And I think it's nice and to feel that.
Of course. So
sometimes I look back and just wonder, what was I thinking? But it's nice to reflect back on certain things, and as you say, just how the journey sort of goes, and also just the trend of what you were thinking, and sort of as time goes on, it's actually very, very interesting.
Yeah. So we touched on a few points here, and now I want to go a little bit deeper in conversation, and first, of course, Florence, we'd like to hear, for what specific purpose did you pick this as a topic to write about, and really want to hear your stories around it, which is time to get out of the comfort zone. This is something we hear a lot everywhere, and yet do we really do it? And if we do it, do we recognize that this is something different we've done? So over to you, Florence. Time to get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah. Well, I think your comfort zone obviously is your family, your home, what you used to do. And going out of your comfort zone is really going to the others. And for me, the connection with people is something that I cherish so much. So that was my way, and we all have our ways. To go out and to actually start something that really, really make your life at the fullest. So for me, it was really, when I arrived in different countries, it was to find where to meet people, how to meet people. Of course, the first time you go out, you're not going to meet your best friend directly, but this is also a journey. I don't know, maybe you want to go because you play tennis, you decide to go to the tennis club, and then you will meet people there, and you have at least one thing in common, which will help you to start to connect with people. And then different groups are you find different groups in expatriation. So maybe you'll find a tennis group who speaks your language, and then you'll be part of this new community. And you have to know that in expatriation, people are very, very welcoming, and they know what you went through. So they really are there for you. But the most important thing is to do the first step, because no one will come and look for you. So that's your responsibility, is really going out the first time, and then you will see that everything comes together, and all efforts that you're gonna do, you're gonna be recompensated, and life is gonna be every day easier. And everything goes together, actually. That's the beauty of it.
Very nice.
When we spoke about this a little bit a couple of days back, it's like, if you keep doing what you've always done and expect different results, there's a little bit of insanity going on there. So I do, like you say, each time you move, each time you do something, whatever, just do something different, and you will obviously then start getting different results. Totally love it.
Well, you can what worked before, keep on doing it.
That's true.
Because
Get better at it.
Yes, exactly. I mean,
totally.
and then obviously every country is different. So you're not going to be able to do it exactly the same way for all the different facts that you have around you and situations. And so it's not going to be exactly the same. But the more you move, the more you have, obviously you already have a pattern and you will use it and you will just adapt. And obviously after 7 countries, it becomes a bit easier.
Nice.
Until now, when I think I'm not going to move anymore, and that's a new transition, and that's going to be also very difficult. And I think this is one of the reasons, actually, why I wrote this book as well. For me, this transition going from moving to not moving anymore, and and that's my challenge today. How I'm going to adapt to this new life.
Totally. Wow, that's interesting. So again, a question to people who have joined us on this brilliant conversation. What is the one thing that you did today, yesterday, last week, that you really felt shaken a little bit because you've done something different? Tell us that one thing that you did that was completely different and you felt good, because it's not even about did you do it right or not. The fact that you did it is a brilliant step forward. So we'd love to hear from you. Tell us that one thing that you did, something that was probably for the first time. And
Can I share mine?
Yes, of course.
Well,
go on.
It's being with you. It's my first interview ever.
Congratulations.
Mabruk, as they say.
Yes,
Mabruk.
Absolutely. Oh, hey, hello, Hussein. Hussein has joined us to say hello. Hey, blast
He's
from
joined
the
us
past.
from
Oh,
Canada.
my
Hello.
goodness. Wonderful to say hello. Thank you for dropping in and saying hello. Hey, so this is brilliant, and get used to it. Florence, this happens a lot now that your book is out. Get used to this. Varuna says, walking around Expo alone with my thoughts and people made me feel hopeful and excited. Oh, how
Lovely.
wonderful. Oh, I
Lovely.
love that. And I like particularly how Varuna has said, alone with my thoughts, because so many times when we are even by ourselves and we're walking, we're doing something, there's always a very purposeful action there. Sometimes we don't give ourselves some time just to be with our own thoughts. And Trasika says, attending a pottery class. Oh, that's nice. Wow.
In fact, Roshi, you were talking, you were doing a podcast a couple of days back, and there was that meditating while you're walking. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, it's accessing that mindful sort of space. So whether it's painting like Florence does, whether it's journaling, gratitude, whatever it is, it's just being able to center. Love it.
Yeah.
So Expat Wife Happy Life.
If I can jump on this,
yes,
I
of
think
course.
This moment, actually being by yourself with your thought, this is something all expat can really relate to, because we have a lot of those moments. We are a lot with ourselves, with our thought. And that's why I think it's so important to trust yourself and to follow your instincts, and really believe in yourself, because you're the only one who knows what you need at this moment. So really listen to your feelings, what you want to do at this present moment. I think this is really important. And it's something that, because you don't have so many helps around you at the beginning. Of course, after it comes, with time it comes. But if at the beginning you don't feel so secure, follow your instinct. Really, that would be a tips I would give actually to any new expats. And also another tips I would give is when you think, and it comes back to the positive mind as well. When often people start sentences with the problem is. If you replace the problem is with what if, and then you see that actually what's gonna be on the other side is not that dramatic. So go for it.
Nice. Nice. Totally love it. And especially on that note, Hussein's put a comment here to say, being okay with not doing everything to perfection. I love that. Absolutely. I love that. And particularly the word perfection. I've always had a little bit of a challenge with using that in this context, because perfection is so relative. Something that may not be perfect for somebody else, I might look at it and think, wow, that's a brilliant job done. So I love that comment, Hussein. Thank you for saying that. And really just being okay with giving your best shot today. It is your excellence of today. And that's a brilliant way forward. Yeah, no, I really like that. And another comment came from Hussein earlier about doing something different. Stopping my work day to play a game of Assassin's Creed on PlayStation and having fun and switch off. I love it. I love the fact that when entrepreneurs actually say it's okay to take a break, to stop that work day is a big step in itself. Because, and we were recording a podcast just last night with a guest from the US, and this was one of the points of conversation, to say, how have we got to this stage that there is so much pressure on the entrepreneur to think it is okay to work 18, 19, 20 hours a day. And it's almost like an expectation. If you're not doing that, you're probably not doing something right. And I don't think that's right, because you got to be able to perform at your optimum, not a high performance environment, but an optimum. So it's that slight differentiation, distinguishing between the two. And I love what Susanna said, stopping my workday to play a game. Brilliant. I love it.
What's interesting is it's not just the entrepreneur, it's also people in the corporate world. And depending where in the world you are, and especially with just the way things are now, working too hard is actually quite dangerous. You have one life, live it. And that's actually quite interesting. So at what point do you like you say, Washa, when does the buck stop for you? So at what point do you stop chasing that and then start actually looking after yourself?
Yeah.
I think in expatriation, sorry to interrupt, but when you talk about perfection, I think in expatriation it's difficult to be perfectionist, because A, you're not in a country you really know, and B, it's a question of time. Expatriation, usually we have 3 to 4. My average was maybe 4 years in a country. So it's a moment that you need to discover, you need to go out there. But if you become really too perfectionist, you might miss a lot of the country. So I think you have a lot of let it go. That's what I wanted to say. You have a lot of let it go, actually, when you live a life that you're going to have just a certain time to live it. So
go with the flow.
Go with the flow.
Go with the flow. There you go.
And let it go, and just do things. And if it's not perfect, it's fine. At least you tried. At least you
nice.
I mean, one of the key things we talk about in Dare to Scale is adaptability. And it's about mindset and being able to. I mean, the overused word is pivot. It's not so much that. It's being aware of sort of where you are and changing tack if need be. And I totally love that. And what's interesting, Florence, in your book, you talk about TCK, which is third culture kids.
Yes.
And I've heard this term before. And what's interesting is it's actually not the kids only. Right? It's actually you and Alex went through the same thing. So you actually TCKs yourself, as I am as well. So is Washa. The minute you go live in a different country, you pick up all sorts of new stuff, right? Absolutely. And just tell us a little bit about how that might have been challenging, for your kids in terms of the different countries.
Well, so both my kids are really third culture kids because they were born in different countries as their country of origin and countries of their parents. That's how we call a third culture kids.
Yep.
So Constantine, my son, he was born in Indonesia. I mean, in Singapore, but at the time we were living in Indonesia. And Angelina was born in Brazil. So for them, at a young age, it was really fine. And actually what was important, it was really the family. And we were really, really a close family and very united. So I think at the beginning, it was fine. It's more when we arrived in third world, I mean, when we arrived in the Philippines, both the kids had totally different reactions. Constantine was very, very sensitive to what was happening outside home. And he also understood that we were going to change countries always, and that the friends he had at the time will not be their friends anymore in a few years. So he was not, that was his challenge in terms of friendship. When my daughter, she was younger, but that was something that really didn't affected her. And she really had amazing friendship that she still has today. School-wise, curriculum, at one point we tried to keep the same curriculum, and that worked for them. And obviously they learn different languages, and that's an advantage for them long term. However, none of those languages, they speak it really well. So you can see it's always, again, it's a choice. What do you decide to do, and what do you want for your kids? And obviously, when we left we were not even engaged. We were boyfriend and girlfriend. Those things we never thought about. And then when you start to have kids, you have new choices that you have to do. New decisions, new needs are coming into the picture. So,
oh wow! I want to now ask our wonderful, wonderful audience over here, people who have tuned in to listen to the Power Hour with Dare to Scale. For those who are expats living an expat life, have probably moved a couple of countries. How was that for you, especially people with children? What was some of the challenges that you probably thought you might face, and yet it turned out to be totally different? Share us a couple of your experiences. We'd love to hear from you, because that's something that we rarely talk about. And again, I keep circling back to the theme for the next 2-3 months is going to be shining the spotlight on the human being, the entrepreneur, the person behind the role that we play in our lives. So this is a large aspect of that move that we all choose to make. So what was it like for you? And I want to pick up a conversation or a comment that Hussein put out on a topic we were talking about earlier. Burnout is not just going over 8 to 10 hours a day. Sometimes you burn out after 2 hours working hard on something. So true. And you need to continue to check in with how you're feeling, and you must be okay taking a break when you most need it. Brilliant one. And Hussein, watch out for the episode that will be released on the Dare to Scale show, the podcast episode, which will be released in the beginning of November. It is all about this. It is a brilliant, brilliant conversation that we had. So I'm not going to say anymore, but do subscribe to our podcast and listen to particularly that one. You will love it. Oh wow, such brilliant aspects that we are touching on when we move countries, when we become expatriates. I want to now talk about a section of the book where you write about courage. What does courage mean to you, particularly? Florence, why did you choose to write about that?
I think every human being needs some courage. Whatever you do, you need some courage. The courage is at any levels. I mean, even my kids, For them, it's a lot of courage to go from one country to another, to meet new friends, to go to a new school, learning new languages. So actually, it's all those challenges that are on your way, and you just need courage and to go over it. And I think is what I can tell to all those future expats and current expats, you have a lot of courage to do that, because you had the choice. You could have maybe stayed home, even if it was a need for the organization that you were going to be moved and everything. You're there where you are now today. You are there. So yes, you were courageous enough to be there. So be proud of yourself. Don't underestimate all the strengths that you have, because you have much more strengths than you think.
Nice.
And while we're talking about courage, I just also want to point out, when you wrote the book, you originally wanted to write the story for your children, and you didn't really want to necessarily do it publicly. So in the end, you ended up writing the book, and it's actually published, and it's a brilliant read, and
thank you,
full of
I
wonderful
really
stories and experiences. And it's totally, and again, it took courage to do that. So well done.
It is. And Amanda says, expat children quickly get used to the passing through of friends. They form firm friendships and are aware that this person may move away at any time. I also find this makes expat families exceptionally close. Oh,
yes,
nice.
Absolutely. Yes.
Oh, very nice.
Yes, I totally agree on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The connection we have, the four of us, obviously I cannot compare. I don't know how it would be if we were not here. But I'm really grateful for the family that I have, the connection we have, the communication we have, the discussion we have, everything we do together, how much my kids wants to be home with us, doing things with us. But also, I think it's a big commitment from every side. It's but yes.
Because I'll be talking about the connections. One of the really interesting and quite endearing parts of the book is, I think it's Alex's parents every year insisted on actually visiting. So they actually went through the journey with you, which makes a huge difference. I mean, I know they call it expat guilt or something. Every time I go back to Australia to visit my family, I've grown in a certain way, they've grown in a certain way. Next thing you sort of almost poles apart, and nobody can understand each other anymore. And it's quite interesting. It really is quite interesting. So at least you've kept those connections, and that's the important thing, is keeping those connections and the communication open.
Oh yeah, totally. Because it doesn't matter, like Florence was saying when we were having a chat, it doesn't matter where in the world you are, eventually your family. And that's the bond that holds you all together. So how wonderful that is. Hussein posted a comment some time ago, and at that stage we were talking about
entrepreneurs.
How is this different? Yeah. The biggest challenge is feeling alone and not having many people who can relate to you. Most people have jobs, yes, and they do not understand what it takes to be an entrepreneur. Oh, you have totally struck a chord over there, Hussein. 100% agree with you. And do you know what? This is a great conversation, because let's pick this up at the next Power Hour as well, because how many people can relate to this? And how does that create that interesting scenario when you are probably explaining what is it that you're going through? And most people will probably nod along but think, you don't really get it, because you don't know what I'm going through. And it's that, go on.
I think at this point, that's where it's so important actually to make your life where you are, because the people who will relate are really the people who are living the same life as you are. So of course, you will never lose the bond that you have with your family, because family is always there. And when you go back to see them and everything, I think you have things to tell them, but obviously they cannot really relate to it because they're not living it. So I think it's very important to respect the fact that they didn't move, so they cannot understand. And it will be the same for them. I think it's important for them to respect that you decided to move. That was your choice, and to listen to what you have to tell them. If they don't understand, it's just the feeling, but what's important is to understand the feeling of the other people, how they feel when you tell a story, or maybe just to know how you feel when you're on the other, I mean, for them to understand how you feel when you're on the other side of the world. Feelings are important, the story not so much. So
that's true. That's true. Oh, wow. Wonderful. And comments are coming through. Preeti says, on the topic of courage we were talking about, Preeti says, the courage to accept the fact that we need to adapt and we need to change. I love that, because that brings adaptability. And I know, Evan, you had circled that word a few times to say that's the essence of it all.
I mean, what Preeti's saying there, just looking in the mirror, and accepting that something needs to give. Totally love it.
But I think even if you're not an expat, you need this courage.
100%. And again, we circle back to, it doesn't matter what role you play in your life. This is a fact. And like Hussein says, COVID has exacerbated this. We live in a time when it's become natural for people to move around, and online has become more real than in real life. That is so true. That is absolutely
true.
True.
For example, COVID took away from the expat people what was actually our biggest freedom. It was traveling everywhere. That was, I mean, as expats, that's what we were liking to do, and we were able to do, going back to see our family, traveling around. I mean, that's also one of the advantage of being expat, is really exploring the country around and everything. Okay, so COVID took us that away. So again, you need the courage to find something else, to know why you're there again, and what you're going to replace it with, if you need to replace. But
well, the great thing is, we're fingers crossed, we're coming out on the other side, and hopefully travel will be back on the cards. Time to revive the travel and the airline industry and really go for it. So totally true.
I'm very positive on that.
Fingers crossed on that. As Zainab says, so true. It's always about the journey and not the destination. Yes. We love that.
This sentence.
Always
definitely.
is. And that's, I think that nicely sums up the title that I picked up from your book, One Life, Live It, because it just live it, be in the present. It's about
Carpe
that
diem.
Continuous journey. Yeah, totally.
I'm very carpe diem. Don't overthink. Don't
overthink. And success is today. What you experience today is success.
And
go for it.
sometimes put this stupid thing down.
Yes. Most times.
Play a game, as Hussein says.
Yes, go switch off, play a game. What a brilliant conversation.
Something with your kids.
Yes, spend time with your kids. Or go paint. Do something new. Learn a new skill. There's a
write a
LinkedIn
book.
user. Write a book. Yes, write a book.
I mean, one of the great ones is make a meal and share a meal with your family.
Oh, very nice. Yes, that's true. Somebody has posted, I will say LinkedIn user because I can't see the name. It's an excellent session. Enjoy the conversation. The comments resonate. If you have a family with you, it's great. As being alone, it takes time to find the right people, and it's only that long before either of you or they move on. That is true. In my early days in this country, I was here by myself, and I moved around different cities in this country, and it was interesting.
It was tough.
Let me just say, it was interesting.
I really wanted, I'd like to jump on this comment, and I have to say that one of the biggest reasons I wrote this book is also to thank all the encounters, all the friendship, all the people I met during this journey. Because to tell you the truth, at the moment when I met those people, I couldn't tell them, you know what I'm living with you, the experience, I mean, what we are sharing right now is going to be such a richness for me as a person.
Yeah.
And today, after all those years and this journey, I can really tell them, thank you for what you did for me.
Nice.
Because the person
How
who I am
beautiful.
today, it's really thanks to you. So that's also one of the biggest reasons I wanted to write this book.
Beautiful. That is
and I love that you've become a
brilliant.
life coach, and you're actually now paying it forward for other expats.
Yeah.
Yes,
It makes
absolutely. Again, it's because what I'm passionate with is really connection with people. So, if I can just change or transform one life, I think I'll do my job.
How brilliant is
That's
that?
what we're all about here. Yeah.
And the LinkedIn user is Masuma. Oh, Masuma, you managed
Hello,
to join
Masuma.
in. How wonderful. Hello. We have some great audience here. And Hussein says, great friends, great people. Oh, the second comment, I have to say this. Hussein says, have cats. Hussein, we now have 4. Believe me, we are in our 3rd generation of cats now already. And yes, they have a way of interrupting your flow and keep demanding your attention. Oh, don't they just? It's brilliant. I love that comment. Yes, so we now have 4. What a wonderful conversation.
Totally.
Florence, you have been an amazing guest today.
Well,
thank you very much for
amazing host.
taking the time. No, it's just
I love the conversation. I could stay here for hours.
I know, right? Honestly, there is so much in that book that resonates with all of us. Hussein, you have 2 more. Go on, get 2 more. You will think of us. And there are so many points that we were marking as we were going through the book to say, well, these are great talking points. And I still don't think we have scratched the surface. No. So yes, definitely. Everybody listening, go get that book, read it, because there are so many things you will resonate with. Florence, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. It was
all
such
the
a pleasure.
Very best. We will continue talking. We'll continue this conversation. Keep joining us on this session, which is a Power Hour. It happens every other Wednesday, and we will see you at the next one. Thank you very much. You have a great rest of the day. Thank you again, Florence.
Thank you, Even.
Thanks, Florence. Do take care.
Have a good one. Bye for now, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.